Well, hey guys, it's Dr. Drake 63 here today, and today we've got a nice, beautiful winter day where we can do some outdoor shooting. And today we're going to shoot a couple legends, if you will, a couple 6-inch revolvers in 357. On top, you've seen me talk about this one before. This is the Colt Trooper Mark III in 357 Magnum. This one was born in 1975, and don't shoot it as much as I'd like to. It's a beautiful gun, and the trigger is extremely well broken in. And also, in this shooting exhibition today, we're going to shoot this born in 2000. This is a Smith & Wesson, and this is a Model 66, also in 357. And I'd like to point out that I have just recently, this week, put on the basket weave grips from Altamount, and I couldn't be more pleased with number one, how these feel, but just the look of them. If you look at the workmanship that went into this, and beautiful grips. And if there's going to be a difference in the way these two firearms shoot, it's probably just going to be, here you got these big target grips with the Colt, and a much smaller profile grip, certainly thickness wise, with the Smith. And trigger wise, especially in single action, they're going to be real similar. I happen to have not small hands by any stretch, but the pad of my hands is kind of thick, kind of beefy. And because of that, I prefer a smaller grip to a bigger grip. And I'm able to get a lot more grip in my hands with this gun than I am with this. So we'll see if that makes a difference today. We're not doing scientific shooting. What we're going to do, and no deference to the people at Sprite, but because sugar added soda is bad for you, we're going to do our best to rid the planet of a little bit of it. And we're out here shooting at about, this is about 25 paces. And we're going to be shooting at some soda cans and some water bottles, just having some fun. Already took some shots with this 22, which is this Marlin Glenfield. Talked about that last week and was having some extraction problems, and that problem has been fixed. She cycles like a champ, so nice to be able to do that with just a little bit of amateur gunsmithing. So gonna have some fun today. We're gonna start out shooting this American Eagle 357. It's 158 grain 357 Magnum, so it's definitely plenty hot stuff, I guess, coming out of the muzzle at 1240. People will talk about, with whether it's older guns or whether it's just in terms of shooting that Smith Model 66, people will talk about issues more with the Model 19 actually, but issues with the forcing cone on that Model 66 will erode and eventually crack using really hot, high velocity loads, stuff like 125 grain, 1500 feet per second loads. Stuff like this, from what I understand, it can eat it up all day. I didn't buy a 6-inch 357 Magnum for purposes of shooting 38 Special. I'm sure I'll shoot plenty of 38 Special, but main reason I bought it was to give it a steady diet of stuff like this. And if I want to use it for hunting or something, occasionally shoot some more powerful stuff, and I'm sure it'll be fine. So we're going to start by using the Smith & Wesson. Now, I mentioned these grips, and I mentioned that they fit my hand real nice, and thin profile. My hand tends to fill out the rest, and so this is what we're going to use today. we definitely want to save this brass, so I'm not letting it hit the ground. Now this is what one round of 158 grain jacketed soft point and 357 Magnum will do. Obviously just blew the hell out of the soda can. Shredded it. Just one round. So it's just hitting with an incredible amount of force, and it takes no prisoners. 357 Magnum. Let's see what we can do now with this. See what we can do now with this Colt. It's got a little bit of kick, but it's not anything that is a problem. I could shoot these 158 grain Magnum rounds all day long. It'd get kind of expensive, but the point is yeah, if you put a 38 in there, it's a lot softer affair. There's no question about it. But these type of firearms, like the Colt Trooper Mark III, like that K-frame 650, or sorry, K-frame Model 66, are meant to fire these kinds of 357 loads. And like any other gun, if you wanna shoot the heaviest loads you can get, you are gonna wear out your hardware quicker. You're gonna have the timing go out quicker. You're going to beat up the internal parts. You're going to loosen up that cylinder, or the term is shoot it loose. But those things are going to happen quicker in any firearm. Now, for the folks that like Rugers, what they always will tell you is these guns are built like a tank. And you know what? They are built very stout. For my purposes, for carry firearms, for just firearms to shoot a lot, my knock on the Rugers is that they're overbuilt. In other words, I don't shoot a lot of hand load, as heavy as I can get loads out of revolvers, and there's guys that do. So my suggestion is, if you want to shoot the hottest loads you can get and you want to shoot a lot of them, probably need to get yourself one of those Rugers, a Super Black Hawk, or something of that nature. If, however, regular loads, loads that are put to normal SAMI standards, off-the-shelf stuff, things of that, exception being maybe buffalo bore. If that's the steady diet you want to feed your firearms, then you don't need to overbuild. So that's something to keep in mind. But as far as the triggers, the accuracy, the ease to shoot, things of that nature, I'm a Smith & Wesson man. And certainly Colts, if they still made revolvers other than just the little snubby Cobra. So hey Colt, you got a customer here. If you can get back to doing what you used to do, because this right here is one fine shooting machine. Fun and games of the Most High. Wow, we weren't that accurate on those. Had a little bit of hard time picking those out in the sunlight, I'm not gonna lie. But gonna try our Smith, and we're gonna see if we can finish the rest of these off. We got 4 standing, 2 standing and 2 laying on their sides, and we want them all to be exploded. Let's see what we can do. And let's just go ahead and make sure this guy's dead. Okay, we can kind of come up here and see the carnage. Took me a little while to hit that first water bottle with the Colt, and a little bit of glare in my eyes, and I don't know how much of that showed up on the camera. And then came back with the Smith, and we got busy, and I think we took down our first 3 no problem before we had to take a couple shots. But, you know, we're over there, like I said, about 25 paces. So, but in terms of just looking at the kind of carnage that you can do on water bottles and pop, I've got some cleanup to do. Don't want to leave this mess out here. Now, I'm going to have to be honest here. This Colt Trooper Mark III is a little bit easier to shoot. And what I mean by that is recoil-wise. Whereas the Smith & Wesson Model 66 is a little bit easier for me to shoot accurately. In other words, I can hit the mark with that Model 66 a little bit better. Has a little bit, at least for me, ability to get that trigger pull, just because, probably as much as anything, because it has that slimmer grip profile. So for me to come in and say, I think the Smith Model 66 is a better gun than the Colt Trooper Mark III would be wrong. For me to say one's better than the other. I know that, you know, Colt hasn't made anything like this for a long time. This was a working man's alternative, a duty version of the Python, and it's a slick gun. But I can't tell you that it's any slicker than the Model 66. They both have their relative, I would say, advantages, but they're pretty much the same thing. I mean, this is a stainless version of the 19. It was a regular duty carry, big time in the 70s. Same with this Colt Trooper Mark III. Smith & Wesson won the law enforcement, if you will, community market, and dominated, mostly just because of aggressive marketing and undercutting the price of Colts. Colts charged more. Does charging more mean it's a better gun? I don't think so. If you look at these two side by side, it almost looks like, you know, comparing a Ford F-150 to a Chevy Silverado or something. They both look so similar. The frame sizes are so similar. There's not a lot of difference dimensionally, weight-wise. It's, you know, if you put the same grips on it and blindfolded me and I was just holding it like this, I wouldn't be able to tell you one versus the other. But in terms of shootability, they're both great guns to shoot. I love shooting 6-inch firearms. I love shooting 6-inch and 357. Your sight radius is enough extra, at least for me, that I'm able to be very accurate with these typically, especially when I'm not holding a camera with one hand and shooting with the other. But it's a lot of fun, and today was just about going out, enjoying some nice weather, and shooting a couple classic firearms, that very likely you would have seen law enforcement, especially in more of the rural type of scenarios where those guys tended to carry the longer barreled versions. Beautiful firearms. I wish I had the exact same thing for each of them in 4 inches. Maybe someday I will. It's going to be a lot harder to find this Colt in 4-inch in a condition that I like without paying an arm and a leg versus the Smith. But I'm going to continue to shoot these guys, 357s all the way. I appreciate you guys watching today. This is Dr. Drake 63 saying support the National Rifle Association. They've got your back. These may not be the firearms that the gun grabbers are coming after today, but they eventually will, because they go bang, and that's the problem. Anyway, thanks for watching. Dr. Drake 63 saying have a great day. Carry on. What happens when we take a shot at that? Miss it. Kind of that, I guess. I still got some pop right there too.